Saudi Arabia, having forced down oil prices to try to push US shale oil producers out of business, is now having to address the problems of much less money flowing into its state coffers. Its answer is an economic reform plan, including selling off as much as 5% of its state energy giant Saudi Aramco and using the cash raised for a massive global investment fund. After approval by the country's rulers, Deputy Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, who oversees Saudi Arabia's economy, explained that Saudi Aramco will be transferred to the existing public investment fund. Key to the success of the plan is the valuation of Aramco, which, the prince says, will be more than $2 trillion. He believes other assets, such as government land and monetary reserves worth around $300 billion, will be added to the fund, which is currently valued at close to $200 billion. And that will create a public investment fund of up to $3 trillion. Low oil prices mean that Saudi Arabia is not bringing in enough money to cover its spending. As a result, the current account balance is forecast by the IMF to jump to more than 10% of GDP this year. The Saudi government's budget deficit widened to almost 15% of GDP last year. That was up from 2.3% in 2014. The prince's plan calls for a major shift away from oil earnings to other investments, and he says non-oil revenue should reach the equivalent of up to 140 billion euros by 2020 and 235 billion by 2030. Part of it from the diversification of investment, engaging in new opportunities, and part of it from exploiting untapped assets that are not now used. Saudi Arabia's real GDP grew 3.4% last year, but the IMF anticipates growth will slow to 1.2% this year and will be just 1.9% next year. That reflects the fact that oil still accounts for somewhere around 3/4 of Saudi exports. The plan to accelerate away from petrodollars but keep the country's economic engine running smoothly includes cutting unemployment to 7% from the current just over 11.5%, and increasing women's participation in the workforce. However, skeptics point out that that plan was short on details.